like to call to order the Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting, Thursday, October 9th, 2025. If we could begin the meeting paying respects to our flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Everybody remember to turn your mics on and keep them close when talking. Number 3, noting of the roll.
Noted, there is a quorum.
Thank you very much. Number 4, approval of tonight's agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve tonight's agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Number 5, conflict of interest, ex parte contact. Does anybody have anything they need to bring up?
No.
Seeing none. 6.
Mr. Chair, if you don't
Sir.
mind, just want to talk about neighbors in my neighborhood for a second, if that's okay. If somebody approaches me and talks about something that we've already covered, anything that I say is always based on information that's open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's all fair and within the requirements, like neighbors walking down the street asking about Aldi as an example. That happens often right now.
Right.
And the comments that I make are all things that have already been discussed or seen, I should say, on YouTube. If people watch the videos, it's all available. That's all okay to do without any issues or conflict of
Yeah, unless it's
ex
something
parte contacts.
that is a confidentiality thing, and if it's after the meeting, where the concern is, if you've been talking with neighbors before the meeting coming into this, that's where the
That was where the issue would be, right? If it was an agenda topic,
Right.
that's what you're referring to, yeah.
Yep.
But if the once the meeting's over with and it's okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure I'm
okay.
doing the right thing. Thank you.
If all else fails, ask Susan.
I will. Keep me straight. Thank you.
Ask Cheryl first.
All right, moving on to number 6, approval of the minutes, Planning Commission regular meeting, August 28th, 2025. Anyone?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the meeting minutes of the Planning Commission regular meeting, August 28th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that carries. Number 7, public comments on items not scheduled for public hearing or on this agenda. Seeing no one from the public tonight, I'll move to number 8, commissioner comments. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring up, discuss?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is about the Aldi again. I had received an email just before this meeting from my HOA, which is in the Shores or in the Waterstone development. And within that email, they had an image that showed where the proposed Aldi would be. It looked like it might have been, there's some discussion potentially between the developer and our HOA. I'm not privy to any of that. I don't know those discussions. I was just kind of surprised to get that email.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be transparent
Sure.
that our HOA had that information. When I saw it, I was surprised because, usually we would see that maybe first. I don't know, or it would be presented to the township, I guess, for consideration for a preliminary site plan at some point in the future. But I just want to let you know that email was sent, and I can forward it to you if you'd like to see it. But I found it interesting because I had neighbors asking me about updates and things, and I just tell them everything that I can, which is above board. And
It could just be as simple as them giving them a little heads up beforehand. But yeah, if it's not anything of conflict, I wouldn't worry about it. If all else fails,
yeah, it really
forward the
wasn't.
email to Brittany and just
Right.
get her take on it.
It really wasn't a conflict that I was concerned about. It was more about, as a commissioner, I felt that other commissioners should also know that this discussion was happening,
Sure.
I didn't want you to find out and think, well, why didn't he say something if he got that email right
Yep.
to his fellow commissioners? So
Yeah.
that's all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 9, public hearings, and I see we're gonna do all of them separately. We'll start off zoning ordinance text amendment to update Article 5, Section 3 to allow for the outdoor display and sale of goods at auto convenience marts.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mateo Pasalacqua, Carlisle Workman Associates, for the planning consultants for the township. Yeah, so this evening we've got a few text amendments in front of you. The one that we're going to start off with is edits that relate to allowing the outdoor display and sales of certain items at auto convenience marts. So prior to these amendments, or these proposed amendments, you did not permit that in the township. No gas station could have anything outside for display or for sale. Upon working with both the possibility of some new gas stations interested in the township, but also some existing ones looking to do remodels, we kind of constantly hit this wall of, you guys have outdoor sales and displays, the ordinance doesn't allow it, to which they respectfully noted that every gas station in the township does, every gas station everywhere does. So this is really more or less coming up to a more modern standard of allowing those things, because they are desired by those businesses. But then also kind of to address an ordinance that the township does not enforce, it's not an omission of guilt or anything of that nature, it's just not something that we've received complaints about and therefore haven't taken up. So to kind of clean things up and kind of pave the way for these auto convenience marts / gas stations to provide this, the ORC worked on the language that you have in front of you this evening to allow the outdoor display of items and sales as it relates to what would be the front and side elevations of the business. And it could be up to 10% of the square footage of those facades. That number did come from some homework on kind of seeing what was being proposed in these renovations, of how much space these businesses were asking for. And 10% seemed to be the right mix between not having the whole thing covered by stacks of firewood and mulch and pop, but also allowing them a fair area to present things. We did exclude propane tanks, the exchange, from this calculation because per the fire department, they gotta be outside anyways. So we didn't wanna necessarily penalize the businesses for adhering to a fire department regulation. So with that is kind of the first set of language you have in front of you this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about it.
Okay. Any questions? We'll start down
I
this
have
end.
no questions. Thank you.
I do.
Go ahead.
So does this language as amended align with other communities and what they allow?
You know, yes, and I don't know. So I kind of tried to figure out, like, I looked at other ordinances to see, okay, how do they regulate these things, right? Because again, other communities do permit it. And I found a lot of language that said it was allowed, but it didn't really apply a standard as to how much and to where. And that's not an indictment of their ordinance, but it was just something that I didn't feel like we could just write an ordinance that just openly said, yeah, you can do it, without setting some sort of parameter for where and to what scale. So again, and before these ordinances come to you, the company internally kind of sends them through a pipeline of review, so it's not just me who looks at them, there's other professionals who've been doing it longer than I have. And there weren't any concerns raised with the 10%, especially that I had kind of looked at what has been proposed in the past, how much space are these businesses looking to utilize, and the 10% seemed fair.
Okay, so it says that it's 10% of the adjacent wall square footage. Can you help define that a little bit? What does that mean?
So if your height by length of your facade is 500 square feet, you can cover it with 50 square feet of materials.
Okay,
And it would be allowed on the front or the sides.
okay, so it would not cover, say, along the gas pumps.
It would
Sometimes
not-
you see like
Right.
they put like deer feed and such in between the gas pumps, so that would still be not covered in the ordinance, right? That would be
Correct, it's
outside
not,
the ordinance?
we don't say you can and we don't say you can't, so it's a little bit of
So
a
it's a little
gray.
gray.
It's a little bit of a gray area. The rule of thumb typically is if it's not covered in the ordinance, it's not allowed. But it's not the strongest argument if you're gonna go through town and cite every single gas station for it.
Right, okay. All right, my concern was just around neighboring communities and discouraging owners from wanting to develop or own gas stations in the township for, maybe this reason, right? If they have the ability to sell some things outside that are profitable, et cetera. So, okay,
Yeah, the reality is they would, if we didn't change it, they'd bring us plans that didn't show it, and they'd build
And
it,
they'd do
and
it
they'd put
anyway.
it out there. That's the way it would roll,
so the 10% may or may not be hard and fast. Okay, very good, that's all I had, thank you.
The 10%, who's gonna be enforcing the 10%? I mean, cause you said that they can kinda do whatever they want. Is that somebody that's gonna be enforcing that? Does that somebody have to call in on that to complain about it? I mean, cause here's the thing is if we're not holding them to a standard right now, what makes you think that the 10% is actually gonna hold them to that standard?
Well, the 10% comes into play, really 95% of the utilization of this ordinance will be reviewing new proposals. So a new gas station comes into town, or an existing gas station wants to redevelop, that's the time in which we would lean on this. We are, for the most part, a complaint-based community. So if we were to get a phone call that says, Joe and Joe's gas stations, top to bottom, left to right products, then this ordinance would be used to cite them. But 95% of the utilization of this is going to be the review of new plans.
Any questions? Okay. And right now they're not allowed to have anything out there. We're giving them an additional 10, or we're giving them 10%.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's, like I said, it's also, it's part and part cleaning up an ordinance that just really isn't enforced, and that's not the end of the world, but it's just, again, when we start getting newer proposals, that's where we start to lose a little bit of the conversation, because there are the gas stations doing it, and unless we receive a complaint about it, we're not necessarily citing violations.
Okay. And is that 10% per side, or is it total square footage?
So it would be the square footage, so your front facade's 500 square feet, you get 50 there. Your side, let's say, is 100 square feet, you get 10 on the side.
So they couldn't take the total and put 40% up front?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's all the questions I had. Did you have another one?
I did think of one. So, I guess my last question is, it's really around discussions around new development or, what do we say, redevelopment,
Yeah.
right? So that would be along the lines of that discussion and preventing moving forward because of this ordinance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. That helps. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
question. Mateo, so if a development, I'm kind of building off of what Mark's saying, if we have a development that comes in front of us, proposed gas station, let's say, would they then be potentially building a display of some sort within that 10% to house these things that, versus just putting a pallet on the ground with, stacked with water or whatever it might be? Do you have a vision of what that might look like once we put it into the ordinance? Is there an opportunity maybe to even kind of enhance how it might look? If it's a brick facade, say, maybe they build something with brick sides and some sort of a top that matches, and they can put a pallet of something inside of it, and it just makes it look better. I don't know, maybe that is going too far, I don't know.
Yes, it is and it isn't. So I guess somewhat from the pallet perspective, we do require that they do not hinder the pedestrian access to the building. So you just couldn't have something jut so far out into the walkway, the concrete walkway that's
Sure.
typically around those stations. So that would probably alleviate some of the intent to do that. As far as requiring them to build, display areas kind of in relation to the architecture of the building, that might be a step too far, but that's more, to your point, kind of where the 10% comes from, is to really try to not have the sales or the products deteriorate from the aesthetics of the building itself. I'm not saying every gas station in the world is pretty, but I will say that typically when they're in for a new gas station or a redevelopment, like the standards have come up a lot for design for those types of facilities, and the intent here is to just not let it be covered with, again, stacks of firewood or car washer fluid or things of that. Like, there's a certain area that you can do it. How I envision enforcing it is that really when I see site plans or other plans is an elevation that gives me kind of the depiction of this area with these dimensions is where we will put things.
I see, okay. So you require that, you said in the site plan?
I'll be able to if this language is adopted.
I see, okay. So there'd be some benefit to that
Yeah.
versus it not being there if it weren't adopted. It just couldn't be allowed, but then it would happen anyway.
Correct.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. We have to open up for public hearing as a formality because nobody's here. So we'll take a motion to open the public hearing and then we'll close it a
Mr.
minute
Chair.
later.
I move to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is open at 18:47. Seeing no one from the public, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed at 18:48. Any more comments from the consultant team? Okay. Do we have any correspondence or anything? Okay, with that, I'll open up the commissioners' discussion and then we'll entertain a motion. Anything anybody would like to discuss, ask?
No.
Okay. I think this one was pretty well written. With that, we'll entertain a motion to approve or not,
Recommend approval.
or recommend or not.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed amendments to Article 5, Section 3 of the Township zoning ordinance to the Oxford Township Board of Trustees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Austin,
Yes.
Losick,
Yes.
Durr,
Yes.
Blankenship,
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to B, zoning ordinance text amendment to update Article 6, Section 2, to provide regulation for accessory solar panel and related battery storage equipment as accessory structures in all zoning districts.
Okay, so the next one on the docket tonight, I don't know if I said this with the gas station one, the outdoor displays was part of the ORC's work plan. So that came to you tonight, recommended by the ORC. So my apologies for not adding that earlier. This one as well is coming to you from the ORC with a recommendation. And the next one we talk about, that's a township request.
Okay.
So for this one, again, so the ORC's been working on considering accessory solar structures for both residential and commercial properties. There have been some interest in these. So this is specifically related to solar panels, both rooftop mounted and ground mounted. And so the language that we used here was your accessory structure language for the most part works pretty decently for this standard. But there were some things like the height that we wanted to address. The setbacks, kind of all work together, but adding things like glare or, drainage to some extent, like more from a commercial application, if enough get added to the ground, we just wanna make sure that, it doesn't create a drainage or storm runoff issue, things of that nature. In that process of going through and looking at the solar panels, Commissioner Wagner had brought up that, battery systems are typically, or can be typically associated with these types of installations. So he was interested in having the URC look a little bit further into the battery component. And so what we did was, I believe, because the Plan Commission has seen this language before, but what we're bringing back to you is the additional language related to battery storage. So if you're placing a battery inside your home, which we have seen, this doesn't relate to that, but if for some reason the battery storage system itself needs to be outside and detached from the home, we just wanted to apply some standards as it relates to placement and really screening and height. So what you have now, and this is all backed on research, the battery system would need to be in an approved design cabinet. It could not be in excess of 6 feet, and it would have to be screened. If it was adjacent to the home, it needs to be screened on 3 sides, the 4th being the home itself, or if it's not adjacent to the home, it needs to be screened on all 4 sides by evergreens, and I believe we referenced the height of those as well. So this is, again, the accessory solar the system itself, the commission has seen in prior meetings, but the battery language was new for this evening. And again, we just wanted to kind of get the board's, or, the ORC's recommendation is for the planning commission to review this, and if they don't have concern with it, recommend it onto the township board. Yeah, so exceed the vertical height of the equipment being screened by at least 6 inches within 2 years of planting.
Okay.
So, again, with this, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to just talk about the battery storage for a second. So the 3 sides being protected, or I should say screened. There's clearance, I think, requirements for National Electrical Code clearance requirements to run electrical equipment. So I don't know if that would be somehow baked into this automatically, probably from just a building code standpoint. These arborvitaes, whatever they plant, would have to be, maybe 36 or 42 inches, say when they're fully grown, right? I don't know how you gauge that, but you wouldn't want to plant them within a foot of an electrical component that requires access for service or is against another code requirement. So I don't know if the language should be added to that or if that's just...
That's a great point, because this is the same language that we use for like an air conditioning condenser.
Right.
And so, and I know, and I'm familiar with the standards that you're talking about, as far as things have to be so far one way or the other from a maintenance perspective. So I cannot speak to code specifically, but I do know that where we got the whole, if you're adjacent to, or if you're out from, it's the same that we use for mechanical equipment, other mechanical equipment associated with the house. We could easily amend it if that became the case. I think there's also a mechanism under which if it is a life safety code type of reference, that can trump what you're doing here, but I see what you're saying. I mean, if there's a conflict with it, I'd have to check with the building department to see if there's a conflict.
Where it would be caught potentially in plan review, right at what point.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, but I thought it was worded well, everything in there was
Yeah,
worded well.
I can double check with the building department before we ship this out to the township, but if for some reason we gotta add 3 more paragraphs, we'll bring it back to you.
Or just reference, other codes, complying with other related codes.
Sure.
Yep, Mr. Chair. So I have a question regarding the screening. So if the screening crosses the property line as the screening is growing, how does that get addressed? So, your neighbor puts in a solar panel with a battery storage component and you put screening, and now this tree is half on the neighbor's property and they have rights to basically trim that tree back. Does that create a conflict with this, what we're trying to do here, this ordinance?
I guess I would reference that, in most cases, if you have a tree that's on your property and a branch that overhangs your neighbor's, right, they can take care of the branch that overhangs their property line. I feel as though that scenario would be rare just because this system would have to meet setbacks. So your side setbacks, and because we don't allow the ground mounted solar panels, so let's assume, even though we're not supposed to, that this battery system, these battery systems are in relation to a solar panel system. So you gotta be bringing a ground solar project to then have the battery like detached from the house as well. And we're not permitting them in like ground mounted solar in R1A through R3. You have
Okay.
to do rooftop. So once you're into, SF1s, you've got an acre of land anyways.
Right.
And so your side setback at that point's 30 feet, so that's,
Okay, that helps clarify.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. I think we're good on that one. We'll do the same thing here. Want to open up the public hearing, and seeing nobody from the public, we'll close it a minute later.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, public hearing is open at 18:57. And seeing nobody from the public, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed at 18:58. Any more comments or any correspondence? We'll open it up to commissioner discussion, and if nobody has anything else, we'll entertain a motion to recommend or not.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation to approve the proposed amendments to update Article 6, Section 2 of the Township zoning ordinance to the Oxford Township Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any last discussions? Roll call vote, please.
Blankenship,
Yes.
Dur,
Yes.
Blosick,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, and we will move on to C, zoning ordinance text amendment to update Article 6, Section 15, to allow building official to extend an outdoor temporary sales permit for an additional 90 days.
Okay, so this one comes to you as like a building department request. So the way the township is set up right now, if someone wants to do like temporary sales, outdoor sales, they have to submit a sketch plan to the township. It needs to meet certain requirements, like, not taking up needed parking, setbacks from this, fire department approval, things of that nature. And so that if they get approved, then they can operate for 90 days. And at the end of that 90 days, as it is right now, there is no means for extension, with the exception of bringing another sketch plan, like starting the process all over again. And so what we've seen in other communities and what the building department here requested us was to look into, is there a way in which they could administratively extend that? Because we do have businesses that, could conceivably start in mid-May and want to go through October, but we don't have a mechanism to do that. So the language you have in front of you tonight would allow the building official to extend essentially that temporary outdoor sales permit by an additional, or up to an additional 90 days, so long as they weren't proposing any changes to the plan, they weren't in violation of any local, state, or federal code, township, county, or state laws, and that we didn't have any, there's no violations of code or compliance within that 90 days that they were operating initially. So, excuse me. So this is just, again, it's really more procedural. This is pretty standard in a handful of communities that I work in, where, they have to go through an initial approval process. But after that, if they want to continue operating and there's been no complaints and no issues with the site, they can get so many days to continue on.
Any questions?
Thank you.
I guess I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Have we ever had a request for an extension?
Yes.
Okay.
So, it didn't work out. It wasn't, they didn't stop strictly because of this rule. It ended up kind of what they wanted to do kind of didn't work out anyways.
Okay.
But for us, we were sitting there trying to think of like, we don't have any complaints, there's been no issues, what can we do? You know, without this, the answer is nothing.
Gotcha.
Is this for like the temporary firework displays, or is this like some of these restaurants that have seating on the sidewalks outside, or?
This is like, so flowers, you know, roadside flowers, or roadside pumpkins, or, I mean, roadside maybe isn't, they're bigger than just a table out front,
Mhm.
you know, but, this is, again, more for like your kind of temporary setup, but large establishment, you know, sale of flowers, seasonal items, like I said, flowers, pumpkins, those are the big seasonals. Fireworks as a whole, that's regulated under something
That's what
else,
I
and you get
thought.
7 days. Unless you guys wanna let them sell fireworks for 90 days, we can put that in, no? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Might get some calls on that.
yeah.
I guess one other question is, and I don't know if we're opening a can of worms, why don't we do a 90-day and a 180-day permit? Or is that not something we want to get into?
I mean, you could do it either way. I guess kind of the nice thing about the way this one's set up is if an operator is kind of working on the fringe of like not being great, but also maybe not being bad enough to where there's a lot of issues, you know, if, as long as there's been some sort of kind of recorded issue, we have a clear way to say no, like we have a clear stop. But on the flip side, if you've been operating great, like we don't have, quote, I don't wanna call it a reward mechanism, but we don't have any way to just allow them to continue operating. I will say that the language is modeled off of some of the language that we've used, and specifically Wixom, that works pretty well.
Okay.
Does this exclude food too?
Yeah, this is not food.
So, Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Okay.
So it's a single family 1, 2, and 3 zoning. Is that what I'm seeing there? In section 3 there. Looks like agriculture.
Yeah,
So does this apply to somebody's front of their house?
no.
No, okay. Just wanted to double check. Thanks.
Most of that's, without knowing exactly what we're referring to, that language is kind of influenced by GAMP,
Okay.
you know, generally accepted agricultural practices.
Yeah, I was gonna 90-day garage sale.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're just wanting to put your neighbor's little lemonade stand out of business, aren't you?
There you go.
Got me. Yeah, those 8-year-olds.
Mateo, I have a question, Mr. Chair. if
Sure.
you don't mind. Just thinking about traffic on something like this, have we had any issues with some of these, maybe on M24 causing traffic concerns, or, as I just see, you know, township, county, or state laws, it doesn't really talk at all about either MDOT or Oakland County Road Commission. You know, those types of things probably don't get reviewed as part of that, do they?
No,
The traffic does not get reviewed as part of this type of a permit,
correct. I mean,
right?
I'm-
It's such an infrequent thing that I just think of, you know, the things that we hear about all the time, right? Traffic and
yeah. I mean,
density
they
seem
have
to
to
be
be
the
set
top
up in a
topics.
manner to where the access to the area that they're providing,
Right.
it still has to meet certain standards to make sure that they're not creating traffic hazards,
Right.
and even the placement of them. And I believe the displays of them cannot become distractions. But as far as like requiring them to tell us, like, how many cars are you expecting a day, that's not information we would require.
So if we found that there was a lot of car accidents happening at one of these, we could the township could potentially not allow them to extend.
I mean,
90
we would
days.
have to work with the police department to understand the official nature of what's causing, like, what is being put on
Right.
the record as causing that accident.
Right.
And if it was frequently relating back to this operation, yes, that would be a violation.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. With that, we'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is open at 19:05. Seeing no one from the public, we will take a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Public hearing is closed at 19:06. Any last comments? No correspondence? Any last discussions before we entertain a motion? Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed amendments to update Article 6, Section 15 of the Township zoning ordinance to the Oxford Township Board of Trustees.
A second.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Volosik,
Yes.
Blankenship,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Dur,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to 10, unfinished business. Seeing none there. We'll move to 11, new business, discussion of accessory dwelling units.
Okay, so this one comes to the Plan Commission via the ORC. This is part of our work plan, and much like the mixed use ordinance or mixed use topic that we talked about, I think back in August, the ORC, you know, with these bigger ordinance lifts, with these topics that, you know, have broad implications, the ORC is opting to kind of, you know, let's get some township internal staff feedback on these topics, then let's go to the planning commission, then let's go to the board. And really the point of that is to kind of garner a general level of support, not unconditional, but a general level of support to then have our firm start working on the actual crafting of ordinance language. And as we've kind of discussed before, you know, what we don't want to do is put all the hard work and effort into crafting what, you know, could be 3 or 4 pages of ordinance text and all the expense and time that goes into that, only to have it come here and be voted down, or have it get the thumbs up here and go onto the board and get voted down. Let's have some general buy-in before we take all those steps. So tonight in front of you is kind of one of those topics, accessory dwelling units. We don't have to do a show of hands, but, you know, basically an accessory dwelling unit is, it can be detached or it can be a part of the principal structure, but it is a standalone living area for another set of individuals. And so in the packet, in the memo that we provided, there's kind of a good visualization of the different types of ADUs that can be out there. So you could add on to your existing home, you could take existing space within your home, or you could build a completely separate structure on the same lot. For the first 2 options that you can see on the memo there for the attached, really the big differentiator from a design perspective is that these portions of the home would have their own ingress egress doors and would have a permanent divider between them and the other part of the home. So sometimes people put additions on their houses and that addition has a kitchen, it has a bathroom, it has more bedrooms, but if it is still accessible as one large unit, it's considered a single family home. If on the drawings there's a my apologies, the wall, there's a permanent wall with no doorway internally between the 2 spaces, and there's obviously ingress egress, then that is considered a separate unit. So really kind of what the township or the ORC was looking at is all 3 types of these. Kind of started to think about what would regulations in the ordinance or in the township look like, and then we wanted to bring it to the planning commission for conversation.
Oops.
I will preface this with, I would say in the last year, I've been here for 2 years, almost 2.5. Just in the last year alone, I'd say we've fielded anywhere between 10 and 15 calls and or people at the counter asking if this is allowed. I don't know what does one person equate to out in the township? Does one person equate to 100 people out there wondering? I'm not sure. But I will say that's a decent showing of questions for a specific regulation in the community. They're not new. There are communities that allow them. They are much more common in other places. They're really coming up in Michigan because of the housing crisis from the perspective of availability and affordability. And they are also coming up from the perspective of you know, I guess as it relates to that, for a young professional, there's interest in these in that, you know, the younger generations just cannot afford a single-family home on the own lot, and so there are family members interested in providing a space for them that still allows them a certain amount of privacy. Flip side of that is there's an aging population that requires some level of care, and/or families just want to be close, and these offer up a living space for, you know, the aging population that either, again, needs care or families just want to be closer to. They're also rentals. They're also just straight up rentals to anyone in off the street who needs a place to stay. I'm not presenting any of this as good as bad, it's just a fact of how these things are used. So, you know, kind of tonight, I mean, again, the memo provided some basic background on what ADUs could be. The ORC has reviewed all that, you know, kind of done their own homework, and some of the things that the ORC kind of worked on to say, you know, if this were to move forward, these are some things to consider, these are some regulations that we would want to put in place. Is that an ADU would need to be leased for at least 30 consecutive days at a time. This is really kind of meant to cut down on the short-term rental element, your Airbnbs, things of that nature. Attached ADUs would need to conform to lot standards and setbacks, that's pretty standard. Detached ADUs would need to conform to lot standards for setbacks, but only be permitted on lots large enough. So here the conversation kind of floats around an acre. Not necessarily your zoning designation, because your zoning isn't necessarily consistent with lot sizes, but to say that if you wanted to do a detached ADU, you would have to have an acre or more. Detached ADUs could only be a percentage of the square footage of the principal structure. So some communities say your ADU can be 60% of the square footage of your principal structure. And that's really there because it's in the title, they are accessory. It is an accessory to the principal function of the site, which is a single-family home, allowing them to be the same size. You essentially have two full-blown houses on one lot now. Detached ADUs would need to face the front or side lot lines, and the appearance of the ADU should be consistent with materials used on the principal structure. So this was kind of the ORC's first kind of initial run of like, okay, if there's gonna be some language, this is kind of how we would want it structured. To provide some context for it, we did include the building department's comments and the fire department's comments in your packet this evening. The fire department really more or less referenced just life safety code, things of that nature. I mean, they're not against it, it's just if it's done, it's gotta be done in the right way as it relates to those elements. The building department did express concerns about this, really as it relates to the use of these and the enforcement of them. You know, we can write code all day long, but at the end of the day, communities will find themselves in a decision about enforcement. And to what level do they want to make, you know, enforcement about tracking whether or not these become rentals, the issues, should they become rentals, what would those be, and do they have the resources and the manpower to have a program to actually kind of enforce these things and look at them. You know, one of the things that we've discussed, and again, it's just fair for conversation, is trends change, right? So the intent of these units may be for a younger generation or older generation, but once that need passes on, you now have this structure on your property or attached to your home that is there. What are you gonna do with it? You're going to rent it. And again, that's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a fact. I don't think I would be so far as saying there's good renters and bad renters, there's good homeowners and there's bad homeowners. Like there's no stigma that should be associated with the fact that these become a rental. It just kind of falls under a different category for code and enforcement and things of that nature. And the building department does have concerns. You know, we have a part-time code enforcement, he's really good, he's a great guy, he's busy. You know, so I think that's the building department's end of this, is like his plate is full when he walks in the front door. If we were to adopt something like this and there were to be issues that come from it, what is our position to enforce it and to be on the community? So with that, unless I missed something in the memo or in my notes, again, tonight is just to kind of solicit feedback from the planning commission on, you know, what are your thoughts about this? Is there kind of a, if this, then that, we would support it? Is there too much concern to really, to push it onto the board? Again, whatever we collect tonight, the ORC will work on next week, kind of compile the feedback that we got, and then make a decision from there as to whether or not we take it to the board, you know, in a similar fashion. Thanks for letting me ramble. Happy to answer questions.
Sure. Start down with you. Do you have any questions?
Well, it's maybe some comments, Mateo, and just bear with me. So, sharing thoughts with the fellow commissioners about this. So, if there's a need, say elderly or someone just starting out in life and they need a place to stay, and the family feels that they want to build or add to their property, they could put an addition on the house, have all the, and I'm asked, this is kind of a question, right? I think, because you said this earlier, and I want to make sure I captured it right. They could have a bathroom, a kitchen, a bedroom within that addition that's attached to the house, with an opening to the house to make sure that it is still a single family unit, but have that separation if they wanted privacy. And then that would become part of the house, a single family, and be sold at some point, and less likely to become a rental issue because there's that connection, right? It seems like that we already have something in place if somebody wanted to do that with their property. And I look at Tim London's comments, the building official, about, potential issues, and I put a lot of weight behind that he sees it being there's some problems there, so I guess I would be against that at this point, with thinking about water service and septic and all these things that might come into play.
Okay. Yeah, to Don's point, I mean, I do review floor plans for proposed homes. And we have seen them where they've been proposed with, again, the addition, there's a bathroom, there's a kitchen, it's on this side of the house as opposed to that side of the house, but there is a common access way between the two areas. Unless there's something glaring about it, unless it's like got its own front porch and its own front door and things of that nature, we wouldn't really have a basis to deny that plan we think it's an ADU. If there's a solid wall and there's no way to get from one to the other from the inside, and it's got a front door and it's, then it's an ADU. So we would not be able to approve that. That's not to say that some communities allow strictly attached ADUs and not detached, right? So it's not everything or nothing. But to kind of speak to Don's comment, we have seen that before and have kind of proceeded accordingly. If you can get to one from the other from the inside, it's a single family home.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good.
Mr. Chair, so I have a question. Do we have any of these in the township currently?
I have not approved any. How's that sound?
That's only 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, do we have what I just explained, where we have houses that have this addition on them that are, yes, we do.
And I meant like ADUs specifically, right? Accessory dwelling units that maybe are separated or are attached but don't have any kind of ingress or egress into the main dwelling.
In the 2.5 years I've been here, nothing that I've approved.
Okay.
And in the time that I've been here, no complaints that we've received from a code perspective to go out and look at and say, you illegally built an ADU.
Gotcha. I'm just asking the question because I'd be concerned around if there are existing ADUs and we write ordinances and code around, existing ADUs and how it would affect them and, et cetera. That's like my first concern, right?
If you have an ADU now, and we write language around ADUs, if you're just lucky enough to where what you did conforms to what we wrote, you're good. If you did it and what we wrote you don't conform to because it wasn't permitted in the first place, there's no grandfathering safety net there, you're just in non-compliance, and depending on the nature of the complaint, would have to come up to compliance.
Okay. So if there's something there that we're not aware of at the moment, and it was not permitted and it exists, then that would be an issue for that homeowner.
Correct.
Okay. I do share the building department's concerns around the future. So if these things start going up in our community and then the need goes away, what does happen to those and what does that do to the community overall? Are you aware of this issue in surrounding areas?
I'm not. Again, I always pick the brains of folks at the company who've been doing it longer or working communities who have them. I know, to give some scale to how much demand there really is for these things, I know that in one of the communities, it was a township, and I don't wanna say because I just don't wanna get it wrong, but essentially it was that there was a lot of chatter about ADUs, they adopted an ordinance, and I think in the 3 years they've had 6 applications.
Yeah.
So sometimes the noise is a little bit louder than like the actual need, but again, once it's in the books, it is what it is. There could be 5, there could be 50, you know, you have to permit it.
Right.
But from a perspective of them being issues, I haven't heard of any issues beyond issues that kind of already exist or concerns that already exist with like an Airbnb or a Verbo or, you know, the short-term rentals of that nature. There is some teeth here to say, if we get a complaint and we show up, where's your lease? And how long is it? You know,
Yeah.
and if we consistently find a property that is consistently leasing for less than 30 days, then there would be some teeth to, you know, to kind of stop that from happening. I think that does trickle back to the building department's concerns of saying like, that's fine, the teeth are there, but I have to have the ability for the bite. I have to have the resources for the bite. So, I don't know if I think I answered your question?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
So, does this have any effect on, say, I have a large home and I want to turn it into apartments? So then I kind of wall off the different areas. Some of the older homes in the village kind of come to mind, right? Where some of those older homes have been turned into multifamily dwellings. Would this ordinance affect any of that?
So that's something that was not on a bullet point, although it was discussed a little bit at the ORC as some conversations about how language being in there to say that only we talked about basically only one of the structures could be leased. One had to be owned
Okay.
and one could be leased. And so again, that requirement of like not allowing both structures to convert over to a rental type of structure. So you can, I'm 95% sure that you can put that language in the ordinance, and I can confirm that. But yes, I think that you can put certain regulations in place that you know, only the accessory structure can be leased.
Okay. The other thought I had was around minimum property requirements, right? So I would think that we'd want to limit, because like if you've got a farm or a large parcel where it's multiple acres, throwing up another home on that's not going to be too big of an issue. There could even be in the future, you know, you sell off that piece of land, sell off that dwelling with that piece of land by dividing that property. But I think like in more dense neighborhoods, it might become more of an issue. So that's just some of the thoughts that I have when I see this come up, right? Like I'm not in favor of necessarily limiting to a large degree, but to some degree, right? To you know, standards, right? Is really
To that point, does the acre minimum sound fair? Like, is that something you're comfortable with saying? Like, if you got an acre or more, we can talk detached. If you're less than that, we're talking attached.
yeah. I'm thinking the acre may not be enough
Okay.
for a
Okay.
detached. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any restrictions you know of today from anybody renting out their single-family home?
As far as if you own a property in Oxford and you rent it, you rent the whole thing.
Right.
No, I mean, I don't think, nothing in the zoning ordinance. I would have to go back to general code to see. I don't think we have quote unquote a rental program or ordinance, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware of any, but it would be good to know. The other thing I will point out, when I helped my daughter move out here, a little bit further up north, as we looked around at homes, there were multiple properties where, you know, where they have the pole barns and whatnot were clearly converted to support other, let's say, families or folks.
Without a permit, I might add.
My guess is they did not have a permit,
Yeah, I would too.
and certainly there are homes where you may have the ingress egress, you know, in between different parts, halves of the house, but they were walled off or have been walled off in the past. So, either legally or not. So I'm pretty sure unofficially ADUs exist out here in different areas, one way or another. But I think anything we can do to help provide some structure to establishing those would actually benefit the community.
And to build on that, there actually have been specific instances, not a lot, but where the building department has become aware of, call them, pole barns that have been upgraded and converted, and once we become aware of it, they're in quite the corner. I mean, the building has to be modified to remove the things that make it, the water, the bathroom, things like that. They have to remove it, or they can't get an occupancy permit on it. And so we have, not every day, but there have been a few instances where that has been the case. So kind of speaking to if there's some language we have to work on, then we can try to figure out a solution. Right now, we don't have that, and so you gotta get it out of there or you're not in compliance. And just so the planning commission's aware, you cannot, that is not something someone could go to the ZBA with. So it's not something that we can kind of make the ZBA's problem, because they cannot grant use variances. Not that that's what you'd wanna do, but
Right.
just so you know.
Unfortunately, if folks can work around it, they will. So
You
whatever
don't
we
say.
whatever we can do to help provide some guidance, I think in general is a good thing.
Sure.
I have two. One was kind of discussed a little bit, but obviously the stipulations on people buying a house to rent it and then adding that as a rental. Like he said, I think that would be probably a no-no, because then you're actually doubling your output, and then you're causing more issues. And then also too, what if an HOA doesn't want that to be in their HOA? Is there a stipulation you guys can put on there that says basically subject to your HOA? Because ultimately there's some acre lots in Waterstone, and I would probably be pretty upset if somebody put a detached boathouse out by the water and lived in there. So something like that, obviously.
No, and that's a fair question. And with HOAs, I need to do a little bit more homework on this topic as it relates to there are instances where HOAs can be stricter than ordinances, and there's situations where they cannot. They can only be as strict. So that is something that I'm
just curious.
No. It's a good point, because again, like you said, I mean.
And then also too, if they are separate, will they have separate DTE, consumers, and septic, or are we going to have to tie into the existing? Because I noticed that Tim said something about the septic. Now, is that going to cause more problems? And then, are we going to have to pay a $10,000 fee to basically tie into the city septic? And then, are we going to have to do all the other stipulations too?
Yeah, there is a utility consideration for these. As far as utility hookup and access, all of it would have to be to code. Whatever the expenses associated with that. If everybody in Waterstone tomorrow came forward with an ADU, there might be a capacity issue, right? Because you buy so many REUs for development based on the occupancy, and if you're going to go and double that, again, that scenario is relatively unlikely. But as far as hooking things up, how it would be metered, I would think would be more or less a personal preference. But as far as hooking up to things, if you wanna go up septic, county's gonna have to okay that. So there are hoops to be jumped through, and there may be things that do get in the way where we might say yes to it, but the county health says no.
And is this gonna, say you have 25 acres, is this something that they can put deer blinds up and they can have bathrooms and stuff out there? Is that
It'd be the most amazing deer blind ever.
I'm just saying, is this gonna limit that, or is this gonna say, because we could now be little kids again and do tree forts?
Yes, yeah, that's the whole reason you support it, is because you wanted a tree fort. No, I say this and then I pay for it down the road. It would be pretty clear to us what is and what is not an ADU.
Okay.
So I don't think it gets in the way of that. And in Oxford Township, there is not a limit on accessory structures. So you could, if you're on 20 acres, you want an ADU and you want your pole barn, you can do that as long as it meets the standards. So.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Any questions? I think a couple that I have is like the attached. One thing I didn't see in the fire chief's report is handling fire separation walls, because I know technically you've just created a duplex, and a duplex has to have a 1 hour fire rating wall in between there. So how would that happen? And same thing, if it's attached, how do you put a separation in an attic, from the rest of the structure? So that'd be a concern I would have. And then, isn't that really the same thing as a lot of these people that finish off their basements, turn it into an in-law suite type thing now?
Yes, well, I don't know, because I would say that if the basement was gonna be completely separated off, right, then you're digging a big old, ingress egress hole next to your foundation. That's what would make it the basement an ADU. Finishing your basement, otherwise, just so people can live down there, is just finishing your basement so other people can live down there.
Okay.
I think, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, well, like finishing the basement, you got a walkout. You would have separate egress. Still have a stairway upstairs, but
You want your in-laws in the
Absolutely
basement
not.
with no access to them?
Remember this is on.
Mr. Chair, you're being recorded, so.
absolutely no, I'm good there. That would be my only concern is the firewall, and then the other question is. If you have a rental property, that falls under, like right now where we have the non-homestead tax that the school's trying to do a renewal on. How would this fall into it? If I live in this side of the house as my main residence, is the other side a non-homestead tax, or how would all that fall in? So I think some questions there.
And on Tuesday, I'm gonna tell the assessor he has to come to the next meeting. Yeah, no, it's a great question, but, I mean, we can ask them, we've got a new assessing firm that I can see if they've, how the counter, how, like, in their experience, they've valued these things before as it relates to taxes.
Okay. And I think that's really all the questions I had right now.
Mr. Chair, I have another question that I thought of while we were discussing. So when you do have a pole barn on your property and you do convert it to where you can basically live out there if you so chose, and maybe you don't have somebody else move in, but it's yours, and just sometimes you stay out in the barn. Does that affect that scenario as well if you create an ordinance around an ADU?
Does your wife charge you rent when you're out there?
Right, exactly.
That's a great question. Does an ADU have to be used as an ADU? I'm gonna ask someone, and
Okay.
I will let you know.
Thank you.
I mean, my gut reaction.
Just something to think about, right?
Is no, is that you could construct it to that requirement, but if you choose not to use it as such, that there's no penalty for that per se, but that's a good question.
So just to clarify, I was thinking of building a pole barn and having a loft where you could play poker, and you may not make it back to the house.
You don't say.
You just
It's
let
so tight.
everybody know where to come for Super Bowl Sunday.
That's right.
And
Well,
you're
don't-
running
yeah.
a betting site?
No cash is exchanged,
Just chips.
just chips.
I mean, I will say where that gets a little interesting is that if you have an existing pole barn that you want to convert technically to an ADU, right, we talked about like a percentage of the principal structure, right? Most pole barns they can be they can have the footprint of the house itself. So you might run into some walls there, but let me do a little bit of homework on that.
Yeah, I just thought to clarify, right, because if you do have an existing one, and then you wanted to go around the ordinance, say, right, and it's like, well, it's just for me.
Nobody does that.
Or, you don't want to go around the ordinance, but it's just really for you, and you stay out there once in a while, or you just want to construct utilities and bathrooms and such, then are you falling into an accessory dwelling unit now, and now you've got some kind of tax implication, or, you know what I mean? So
Conflict, yeah.
we just want to,
Yeah, let me look
clarify,
into
probably.
that.
so many possibilities.
Right, and you do your best, when you write these things, you do your best, but, again, I mean, from what, if I may, if there's no other comments, and I'm happy
I'm
if
good.
there are.
I'm good, thank you.
Maybe one last comment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just thinking the pole barn thing again. Is pole barns can be bigger than the main dwelling
right.
easily.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you bring me a pole barn that doesn't have a bathroom and a bedroom in it, it's a pole barn. You know, if we get a pole barn with floor plans that have all those things in it, that's where, even under this, you would probably be denied because it is an ADU and it exceeds what we allow as an ADU. So you would probably still find yourself in that you would still find yourself in that corner to say, you gotta get rid of it one way or the other, because if you leave it in there, it's an ADU, but it's too big.
Yeah.
So,
So like if you find out that somebody turned it into a 16-unit dwelling, there's lots of parking outside.
yeah, yes.
So many possibilities.
Tell me about it. No, we'll wait. So I guess, so I'm getting a general, like, yeah, we, you know, you are okay with us taking this to the township board, soliciting their feedback, and then essentially, you know, assuming that the board has, call it similar comments or comments of some levels of support, potentially seeing some ordinance language. Is there a consensus though, as, like, we're open to all three? Again, I will say the converting the existing house or portion of the existing house to an accessory dwelling unit is probably rare. What you're more likely to see is an addition. Are you generally agreeable to all three if written in an ordinance the correct way, or are there any that you're like, we do not want to see that type of ADU here for any reason? Sorry.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna cross all three at this point, based, depending on the ordinance.
Yeah. Mr. Wilson?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clear up, I'm not in favor of them. I wasn't sure if I was clear about that
No,
earlier.
you are.
Okay.
You are.
Because I think that putting an addition on the house, that accomplishes the potential goal that one might have for elderly. So, and then the concern I also have about it is density, right? If that becomes it becomes a density issue, right? We're adding an extra dwelling on a property. And, one thing that's been clear in our surveys is that people don't want more density in the township.
Yeah, no, and my apologies, I didn't mean to
No,
gloss over that.
okay.
There seems to be a majority consensus that you guys would be willing to, get the board's feedback and look at some language. Again, your concerns duly noted and will be kept along in the process. Again,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair. So, just to be clear, I'm skeptical and very concerned around the size of the lot. So acre not being sufficient for sure, because to others' comments about an acre could be in a subdivision, right? And then you've got another dwelling that you're putting up on a lot that's inside of a subdivision that's only an acre size. And I don't know that an acre really is sufficient to put up another dwelling. So just to clarify, right?
No, I
Just so you
appreciate
understand.
you guys. I did not mean to broad stroke it. Yes, no, I
No,
appreciate
and
it.
I was gonna make that comment regardless of what, I just see you're clear, but thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with the acre minimum. I'm okay with the attached or the detached. I'm not really in favor of the attic or basement, but it's not a deal breaker.
okay. And just again, this is nothing. It's not even a straw vote. We could type something up, bring it to you guys. You can vote it down. I mean, you're no feet held to the fire on this one. That's down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I already,
The minutes can note
I already
that
mentioned
Brian Austin gave me 2 thumbs up.
I mean,
Does that mean he double supports it?
We just don't want tree forts in the backyard of 1 acre subdivision.
Gotcha.
That's all.
No tree forts. It has to be on the ground. That's.
Well, I mean,
But you're okay with hunting on that, just not from
I
a
don't know
tree.
if I'm hunting an acre lot, but it'd be pretty dangerous. Yikes.
For the deer.
I think you gotta
Yeah.
have it.
Okay. All right, well, this is ORC will meet next week. We'll kind of digest all of this, and likely the next step will be soliciting the board's feedback in November.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, moving on to number 12, Communication Committee reports. Go to B, Ordinance Review Committee. I don't see, do we have anybody from the ORC that wants to give an update? Are we good for now?
Mr. Turner's out.
Yeah, Mr. Turner's out.
I mean, we were actually supposed to meet today, but again, there was not gonna be a lot of point to that. We wanted to get your feedback, so we'll meet next week. Really, we're kind of at the point where once we get the feedback from the board in November on mixed use and ADUs, we'll probably start working on some red lines. And then there's some kind of tertiary items that we can kind of work on as well as it relates to some landscaping stuff and things like that. Some smaller items that we can kind of bring your way while we're working on the big stuff.
Okay. All right, and we have the engineering report. Any last planner report information? Or you?
The only thing I wanted to give everyone a heads up was, based on our current workload, I would feel very comfortable in assuming that you will have a meeting in 2 weeks. And then in November and December, you have only one meeting each because of the holiday. I'm pretty sure we will have those meetings as well.
Okay.
So as life happens, things happen, just keep us posted if you think you will be able to attend or not attend those meetings. It just affects the way we have to structure the vote as far as how many people are here and what you're gonna be looking at, so.
Okay.
You got the summer off, I'm gonna need you guys here in the fall and the winter, all right, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 19:42.